So my name is Leeann Hunter. I'm a clinical assistant professor of English at Washington State University, and I teach in digital technology and culture and English. So the Passport program is a professional development and mentoring program that is still in its developmental stages, but it is designed as a multi-stage program. So sophomore level, we are focused on finding your why and on exploring the major and exploring the kind of impact that students want to make and any kind of obstacles they might have, and really get them involved in high impact practices. The second stage of the program is designed for juniors, where they actually start engaging in internships, independent studies, study abroad, community service, and other kinds of activities for their community. The third stage is a senior program designed for seniors on their way out. And so we focus on building their confidence, their professional development skills, their resume, their online portfolio, and all of those materials. So high impact practices are something identified by the Association of American Colleges and Universities, and there are about 10 high impact practices, which include everything from first year seminars, which our university does, and capstones, which is now required at the university, but also internships, independent studies, learning communities, study abroad. All of those things we identify as high impact practices, and basically a lot of them are happening outside of the actual curriculum or the required curriculum, though changes are being made now to identify them as, well, let's make them a part of the requirements, because that's the best way to get students involved in them. So the next step is something that we do particularly in literary analysis, right? So thinking about how we find patterns across various texts. So what you have there are two texts, and we're looking for patterns. What do they have in common? How do we interpret them? And what's the significance of them? And so we're digging right into these memories, into the details that the holder of those memories can provide, but we use other people to help us read those texts, right? So we've just produced just a draft of a text. And what we're trying to do is pull these patterns into what we call a why statement. Right? We're finding our why, and we're using our stories then to say what we believe. So one of the things that I think about that we do in college is we often ask students to leave everything at the door, right? What they do is, and especially anything that happened before college, which on the one hand can be empowering, right? Forget all of that difficulty that you experienced in high school or middle school, and now I'm a new person. And now I'm just focused on my studies and focused on my academic development. But a lot of the research actually shows that incorporating emotion into the learning that we do will actually lead to both deeper learning experiences and more transferability to real-world contexts. And so this idea of finding your why, some of it comes in part from reading Virginia Woolf. She was a modernist author, so writing at the beginning of the 20th century. She was British, and she wrote this essay it's a memoir. It's her attempt at writing a memoir. It's a very rough sketch from the past. And she actually grapples with her own experience of writing her own memories. Like, how do I even think about my own memories and what they mean? And so she comes up with this idea of moments of being versus moments of non-being. You know, a great part of every day is not lived consciously. If you think about the stream of your lives, most of it you don't remember. Right? Most of it, you don't remember every time you did the laundry, every time you walked from Avery to Bryan, right? You don't remember, right? That becomes a stream of life. And she calls this sort of cotton wool or non-being. And then she writes, for no reason that I know about, there was a sudden, violent shock. Something happened so violently that I have remembered it all my life. And she's not just talking about moments of like disempowerment, she's also talking about remembering a daffodil, right? So it could be all kinds of memories that you happen to have that you've recorded over time. So integrating emotion actually can help strengthen their academic experiences and also get them focused on not the outcome, like what job will I get, how much money will I make, how will I pay off these student loans, which are all really important questions. More important for me, though, is that they are actually doing work that feels meaningful to them and that they realize that they have the power to find new jobs, that they can adapt, they can learn new skills. And so that's why it's so important that we look back on their stories and find out, okay, so what are the stories telling you that you value? And so this is a very values-based approach to pedagogy, which is something that we've left behind in favor of content-based approach. And so the values-based approach really shows that these students have things that motivate them, that drive them, and there's a lot of management theory that supports this work too. So. All right, I'm gonna have you come back together for a moment. No worries, we're going to go visit the stories again. You'll have plenty of time. But I want to move forward through the process then and what we're doing with these stories and how do we develop these stories further. And so another quote from Virginia Woolf and an image from Basquiat start to communicate what we're trying to do here. As you think of all these different memories that make up your life and your experience, how they are a part of who you are, and thinking about yourselves and your lives as works of art, right? Which is what I love about this passage from Virginia Woolf, right? That behind the cotton wool, the moments of non-being, is hidden a pattern. That all human beings are connected with this, that the whole world is a work of art, that we are parts of the work of art. She talks about Hamlet, Beethoven quartet, but there is no Shakespeare, there is no Beethoven, certainly emphatically there is no God. We are the words, we are the music, we are the things itself. Right? So thinking about our lives and our stories as being parts of being a work of art, right? It's one of the things that empowers us as we look back on our lives and see even the darker stories or the seemingly innocent stories in a different light, that they create something altogether. My hope is that they will leave this program feeling strong, valued, empowered, and that they can do anything in their lives, in their careers. I'm not promising that they'll get jobs, but I am promising that they will learn how to find jobs, that they will learn how to navigate their careers even, because they know what they value, they know what they're good at, and they've been practicing it through high impact practices. They're starting to get experiences that they can add to their repertoire and add to the stories of their lives